you're working with?
Well, I have to be perfectly honest with you. I wasn't intending on using it. When I had a scope of work that I was working on, and we had some evaluation methods planned out, but this wasn't one of them. I hadn't met all my stakeholders. This was just sort of an idea at the time. And when I met 25 amazing stakeholders who have a variety of disabilities. The one that they all share is developmental disabilities. And I learned that quite a few people have a lot to say, but literally can't say it verbally or even with sign language, because a lot of the people that I work with have low mobility, and I don't even like to say it like that. They're less mobile. It all sounds really judgmental, but I realized that how do I get the data from people who can't speak to me, and I can't speak to them using ASL, and there's no guarantee that they know American Sign Language. And so Photovoice really became the only option for us to collaborate in a way that we could show the data to the people who have the power to make changes. To use, a lot of people assume that everybody has a smartphone these days, and so that they could go and take pictures whenever and wherever they want, but that's not the case for the people who I was working with. So what I did actually was go to the group and ask them if they'd be interested in having cameras when we go out on the excursions into Bloomington to map the spaces, and people were all for it. And so honestly, what I did is I went and bought a bunch of disposable cameras, and every single person who was on the collaboration who went out into Bloomington to do participatory social mapping had a camera. I asked the stakeholders to please defer to people with disabilities when they were taking photographs and stuff. I honestly just really wanted the pictures from people with disabilities, because that's what this project was about, is getting their perspective on structures in society. So everybody had a disposable camera who had the dexterity that is needed to work a camera. And what I did was I asked people to please just go into the community together and look for things that are barriers to inclusion, and or things that make inclusion in whatever space that you're in at the time easier. And only in the art museum did I get pictures about what made the place awesome. I have 300 photographs of barriers to inclusion in Bloomington, Indiana. And so they went out on excursions over a period of about 2 months, and people took pictures. They turned in the cameras to me, and we had a slideshow party. And what I did was I just made a space to project on the wall our entire process of the outings, and we projected it and we all talked about it together. So the people whose disabilities did not allow them to go into the community got to see the pictures too and talk about what that meant for them. The thing that was really empowering was the stories that people told to me when we were looking at the projections of the pictures. They told stories about why that barrier it makes their lives harder and unsafe, actually. And one gentleman even said, if they would fix the sidewalks and the roadways, I bet that would bring revenue to Bloomington. And I don't know that anybody has ever talked to this man before about his ideas to bring revenue to Bloomington, but I thought that was genius. So something that we're going to do is we're going to take it to city planners and ask them to maybe address his statement. My original idea is just show the picture and have the voices of the people who took the picture talk about why that photograph is important. And when I realized that I've developed a skill that not everybody has. Some people who I work with, their speech isn't clear automatically. Some of the people who I work with, I have to practice listening and hearing and knowing what they're saying. And so that is the written words, the captions that go along with the images are important so that people who don't have a lot of experience listening to people with disabilities who may have a verbal, it's difficult to understand what they're saying sometimes. If you don't have the interpretation skills that I've developed, then you might not understand what's being said. And so I really did that for the people who I'm trying to deliver the information to. Have the caption so they know exactly what's being said, but also to hear the amazing voices of all of the wonderful people that I am so excited and lucky to work with. I wanted their voices to be heard, but also understood. So I tried to do all of it. So there were a lot of people who have a variety of disabilities who wanted to go on excursions, who, because they are not their own guardian and because of the nature of their disability, cannot be without trained staff. And these excursions paired people with disabilities with people from partnering agencies in town who don't have the medical training that is necessary for everybody who wanted to participate. So what we did was there is this young woman, her name is Jay. She's 20 years old. She's an amazing artist. She really wanted to go on excursions with us and be very heavily involved. And she is heavily involved as her role as our artist. So what she did was she reinterpreted people's stories, their oral stories of the experience going into the community, and she reinterpreted photographs into a drawing. And what really impressed me was she drew a drawing of a barrier that she's experienced with a friend, because she didn't get to go out and record it with a camera. So she drew it for me, and it's a picture of her standing at a bus stop that is very muddy with her friend who's in a chair, and it's raining, as it often does in Bloomington. It's not a covered stop, and they're in the mud, and Jay has an umbrella, and she's not getting wet because she's standing vertically. You know, it's hitting the umbrella, and her friend is getting soaked, and they just want to go hang out at the mall. Jay took it upon herself to visualize this data for people to see what it's like to have a disability and have to, you know, have a transportation barrier. You just want to go hang out at the mall with a friend, and yet you get soaked. So you're not going to have any fun, and muddy, by the way. So I really enjoyed that. And so she's our project artist, and she hears people's stories and then she draws them. It's really cool. So I think that's an interesting sort of different way to use Photovoice, because her image is based off a photograph and her own story. It's just neat. Photovoice actually showed me that evaluation can be fun. And I know that evaluation should be fun. This is a really amazing way to visualize data for people. It's a very creative way to visualize data for people. So it's not about numbers, really. It's about what's there in the community. So it showed me Bloomington through different eyes, and really helped me see what it would be like to not be able to pick up my feet maybe more than 2 inches to walk, and what a divot in the road would do to me if I can't pick up my feet all the way to walk. And So it was really both emotionally impactful, but it allows me to go into the community of Bloomington and advocate for people who literally cannot come with me. So I'm bringing them with me and their voices with me and the things that they see. And I'm just a conduit, honestly. It's not about me, it's about their experiences. That's what's important about it. It's really important to get all of the data transcription done ASAP, because it becomes, it's easier, and I think the data is more clear in the preventionist's mind, or the person who's doing the recording, if you are timely with your output. And I wasn't, and I regret that. I should have made time right after we did the audio recording and the party, and I just kind of put it off because I don't like transcribing stuff, and I really regretted that because I had written notes. It was a party, so it was audio chaos, and I had a hard time locating it, the moment in my notes, and it should have been done the next day. That's my advice, is like, do it fast, get it done. It's absolutely fun. You know, a year ago, I would not have said that evaluation is fun, but Photovoice just changed my mind on that. And now I'm far more willing to look at other things too. Other practices too, yeah. Man who has a lot of physical disabilities and a developmental disability, he took our Photovoice pictures and plotted them in a GIS on Google. So we have a participatory social map with the Photovoice images that's clickable on Google Maps, and you click on the map and it will pop open a picture with a narration of the Photovoice. So I thought that was cool. So that's another data process that I think if you folks don't have one on your channel, you might want to look into mapping processes, because it's so cool. It's important to show the people who have the power to make changes. I am showing them a Google map of Bloomington, Indiana, and there are biohazard symbols all over it where we almost died on our excursions because of traffic. I mean, if that doesn't make an impression on a city planner, I don't know what will. Something that I realized yesterday while I was trying to pull up the map in my session was that our outings were in a 2-mile radius of their disability services agency. And I think that theoretically, that's symbolic of how narrow the stakeholders who I work with perceive the community. That's where they get to go on a regular basis, and that's where they were comfortable going. So that's why we mapped those areas, because they go there often. But then I looked at the map of Bloomington, and there's this little cluster within 2 miles of Stone Belt. I hadn't realized that until yesterday when we projected the map. I was like, look how clustered that is. And that's very telling of the experience of people with disabilities and their mobility or lack of mobility through the community. And so that's just another way for me to show city planners, look at how narrow of a community engagement this is for the people who are most vulnerable in our society. And wouldn't it be great if we could fix the systems that are broken for those people, because it will impact literally everyone who comes to Bloomington.